Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that could change your life. Don't block him. Don't beg. Just do this. And then sit back and watch what happens. You see, when somebody disrespects you, leaves you hanging, or stops valuing you, the natural reaction is to act out, to block them, to get their attention, or to beg them to stay because you're afraid to lose them. But both of those moves, they do one thing. They give away your power. And let me tell you something. Your power is the one thing you can never afford to hand over. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something that can change the entire direction of your life if you truly understand it. Stop reacting emotionally and start responding with self-control. See, most people out here are walking around like loaded guns, ready to go off at the slightest trigger. Somebody says the wrong thing, they explode. Somebody ignores them, they get desperate. Somebody leaves them on red, they lose sleep over it. But the truth is, every time you react like that, you're giving your power away. You're letting somebody else, somebody who might not even care about your well-being, control your mood, your mind, and your peace. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the fastest way to stay stuck. When you react emotionally, you're not thinking about the big picture. You're only thinking about that moment, about your pride, your ego, your feelings being hurt. So you block them. You send that long text, you call them names, you cry, you scream, you beg. And in doing so, you forget who you are. You forget that you're not supposed to be out here proving your worth to anyone. You forget that you're not supposed to be available for disrespect. And you forget that your energy is sacred. Reacting emotionally feels good for a second because it lets the anger or pain out. But once that moment passes, you're left with the regret, the embarrassment, and the realization that you let somebody else pull your strings like a puppet. Now imagine if instead of reacting, you responded. Responding is different. Responding is about self-control. It's about pausing, breathing, and deciding, is this even worth my energy? When you respond with control, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable people are powerful because they don't move when somebody pushes their buttons. They move only when they decide to. That's real strength. That's real confidence. That's the kind of energy that makes people sit up and pay attention because they can't shake you, they can't break you, they can't get inside your head because you've locked the door. I'm here to tell you, your peace is your responsibility. Your emotional state is your responsibility. And no one, I mean no one, should have the remote control to your feelings. Not that person who ghosted you. Not that ex who tried to come back when they saw you shining. Not that friend who betrayed you. You've got to take that control back. Because the moment you do, the moment you stop reacting like everybody else, you start rising above. People will notice when they can no longer get a rise out of you. That's when they start to respect you. That's when they start to question what's changed about you. But more importantly, that's when you start to respect yourself. When you practice self-control, you're not suppressing your emotions, you're mastering them. You're saying, I feel this pain, this anger, this sadness, but I refuse to let it dictate my actions. You give yourself the space to process, to heal, and to come back stronger instead of digging a deeper hole with impulsive reactions. And let me tell you, that space you create for yourself is where your growth happens. That's where you level up mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That's where you build your empire. Not in chaos, but in calm. Not in desperation, but in discipline. So the next time somebody tries to shake you, remember this. Your reaction is your power. Don't give it away for free. Don't let temporary feelings lead you to permanent mistakes. Stand firm in your self-worth. Hold your head high. Keep your hands steady and choose to respond, not react, because the person who controls their emotions controls the room. The person who controls their emotions controls their future. And the person who controls their emotions, that person is unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to understand something deep today. Blocking or begging, both of them, are just different ways of giving away your power. When you block someone, it feels strong in the moment. You feel like you cutting them off, shutting them out. But if you look closer, most of the time, it's an emotional reaction. You're blocking because you want them to notice. You want them to feel your absence. You want them to miss you. And right there, without even realizing it, you've handed your power over to them. Because now your peace depends on whether or not they care. Your mood depends on whether they react the way you want them to. And that, my friends, is not power. That's bondage. The same goes for begging. Begging is the loudest way to tell somebody you've forgotten your own worth. It's you saying, I'll do anything just to keep you. And every time you say that, whether with words or actions, you shrink a little bit more inside. You move further and further away from your own dignity. You become smaller in their eyes, and even worse, you become smaller in your own. And let me tell you something right now. Nobody ever respects what's desperate. People are drawn to strength, to confidence, to self-respect. So when you beg, you push them further away. When you block out of anger or pain, you show them they still control you. Either way, you lose. Because both actions are rooted in the need for their reaction, their attention, their validation. But what if I told you the real way to win is to do neither? Don't block, don't beg, stay composed, stay calm, stay unbothered. Because real power is quiet. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't force. Real power stands still and lets everything else move around it. When you stay composed, you confuse people. You shake them without lifting a finger because they expect you to react. They expect you to fall apart. They expect you to do something dramatic. But when you don't, when you hold your peace and keep moving forward, that's when they feel your absence the most. That's when they realize they no longer have the power to disturb your spirit. And that shift, that silent shift, is where you take your power back. Now, while you're staying composed, here's the next move. Focus on leveling up yourself, not on changing them. Too many people waste precious time trying to fix someone who's already shown you who they are. You think, if you love harder, if you explain better, if you cry louder, they will change. But they won't, because change doesn't come from pressure. It comes from within. And every minute you spend trying to change them is a minute you're not using to change yourself. And let me tell you, that's where your real breakthrough lies. The magic doesn't happen when they come back crying. The magic happens when you've built yourself up so strong, so whole, so fulfilled, that whether they come back or not doesn't even shake your world. That's the real glow up. So instead of watching your phone waiting for their text, Go hit the gym and build the body you've always wanted. Instead of stalking their social media, go read a book and build the mindset that will take you places. Instead of sitting in your room crying over what went wrong, go outside, get some fresh air, start that business, take that class, fix your credit, build your future. Because every time you invest in you, you make yourself more powerful. And every time you do that, you shift the focus back where it belongs, on your growth, your peace, your elevation. That's how you win, not by changing them, but by changing you. Not by blocking or begging, but by building. So stay composed, stay focused, and let your growth do all the talking. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that will change the way you handle every situation in your life. Silence, real silence, speaks louder than any argument or any tear ever could. Most people think they need to explain themselves, that they need to prove their point, that they need to show how much they are hurting so that the other person finally understands. But the truth is, the louder you get, the less they hear. The more you argue, the more they block you out. And the more you cry, the more they start seeing your pain as weakness instead of feeling guilty for causing it. But when you go silent, when you stop trying to convince them, stop trying to win the argument, stop trying to make them care, that's when everything shifts. That silence gets louder in their ears than any word you could ever say. It forces them to sit with their own thoughts. It makes them question what's really going on. Because silence is powerful. It's mysterious. It makes people wonder. And that wondering is more painful, more effective, and more unforgettable than anything you could scream at the top of your lungs. But here's where you take it even further. You don't just go silent and sit in the dark. You let success be your response. When someone disrespects you, when they break your heart, when they count you out, don't waste your energy trying to get revenge or prove them wrong with words. Prove them wrong with results. Let your growth be so loud that it drowns out everything else. Let your success be so bright that they can't help but see it, even if they try to look away. Because success, ladies and gentlemen, is the ultimate clap back. It's the best way to show someone that they didn't break you, they built you. Every time someone tried to bring you down, they only gave you more fuel to rise higher. And when you focus on winning in life, when you get your money right, your mind right, your body right, your peace right, you start moving different. You stop seeking approval, and the very people who thought they could destroy you are forced to watch you shine. That's a level of power no argument or breakdown can ever give you. Now watch what happens when you choose self-respect over desperation. Everything changes. People feel it when you no longer need them. They sense it when your energy shifts from please don't leave me to I'll be just fine without you. And that shift shakes them to their core because desperate energy pushes people away. It makes them feel superior, like they're doing you a favor by staying. But self-respect pulls people in. It commands attention without begging for it. It demands respect without even raising its voice. And when you start moving with self-respect, doors open that were once closed. Opportunities come your way. People who once overlooked you now want to be around you. And those who disrespected you, start realizing they lost something valuable. That's the power of self-respect. It doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't plead, it shines. So while the world teaches you to fight back, to cry louder, to do more, I'm here to tell you that your greatest weapon is silence. Your greatest revenge is success. And your greatest shift comes when you choose self-respect over desperation. Because when you get to that level, you don't even have to say a word. Your life will speak for you. Your glow will speak for you. And your peace will speak for you. And that's when you truly win. Not when they come back, not when they apologize, but when you rise so high that you forget you ever needed them to in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you today, the moment you start reacting emotionally and start responding with self-control, everything in your life begins to change. See, most people are trapped in their emotions. They let anger make decisions for them. They let sadness guide their actions. They let fear and desperation control their moves. And every time you do that, you're letting someone else play with your peace. You're allowing their words, their actions, their rejection to pull you like a puppet, and that's exactly how you lose your power. Emotional reactions feel good in the heat of the moment. You want to scream, you want to block, you want to beg, you want to prove a point. But once that moment passes, you realize all you did was lower yourself. All you did was show them they still control how you feel. And that is not where your power lives. Blocking them might feel like you're standing up for yourself, but deep down, you know it's a move that comes from pain. It's not strength, it's a reaction. Begging them to stay, pleading for their attention, it's even worse. That's you handing them the keys to your worth and asking them to decide if you're enough. And that's a game you'll never win, because the more you chase, the more they run. The more you cry, the less they listen. So you have to stay composed. You have to rise above that impulse to block, beg, or break down. Real power is quiet. Real strength doesn't need to react. It sits back, it breathes, and it responds with calm. And that calm, that control, is what starts shifting everything in your favor. But while you're holding your composure, you got to do something even more important. You got to stop focusing on changing them and start leveling up yourself. Too many people waste precious time trying to fix someone who's already shown you who they are. You keep thinking if you explain better, if you love harder, if you cry more, they will finally understand, but they won't. Because change doesn't come from pressure, it comes from within. And every minute you spend trying to change them is a minute you're not using to change you. So shift that energy. Take all that love, all that time, all that effort you were giving away and turn it inward. Build your body, sharpen your mind, secure your money, protect your peace. Because when you level up, you don't have to beg anybody to see your worth. Your growth will make them notice. Your success will speak so loud that it will drown out every no they ever told you. And when you add silence to that mix, that's when you become unstoppable, because silence speaks in a language that arguments and tears never could. When you stop explaining, stop defending, stop chasing, people feel it. They feel that shift, that empty space where your energy used to be. And it makes them uncomfortable. It makes them wonder. It makes them realize that they no longer have the power to trigger you, to pull you back into chaos. That's when they start questioning their choices. That's when they start remembering your value. Not when you argue, not when you cry, but when you go silent and let your actions, your glow, your success do all the talking. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. It forces people to face their own reflection because you've stopped reacting and started rising. So if you want to win this game called life, stop reacting emotionally, stay composed, focus on leveling up, and let silence be your loudest answer. That's how you take your power back. That's how you shift the energy. And that's how you remind the world that you are not someone to be played with, because you've mastered yourself first. Ladies and gentlemen, the day you stop reacting emotionally and start responding with self-control, that's the day your life will start to shift. See, reacting in anger and pain and fear, that's easy. That's what everybody does. But every time you react like that, you're handing over your power. You're letting someone else dictate your mood, your peace, your energy. And let me tell you something, nobody is worth that. Nobody should have that kind of control over you. You have to pause, breathe, and choose your response, not just let your emotions run wild. Because when you respond with self-control, you move like somebody who knows their value. You stop playing games on their level and you rise above it, that calm, that control. That's your real power. And when you're in that place of power, you realize blocking or begging doesn't serve you. Sure, it feels good in the heat of the moment. Blocking them makes you feel like you're cutting them off, but deep down you're hoping they notice. Begging makes you think you're fighting for love, but really you're handing them the keys to your self-worth. Both of those moves come from a place of pain, from a place of trying to get a reaction out of them. And when you do that, you're no longer in control. They are. So you've got to stay composed. You've got to rise above that impulse to block, to beg, to break down, because true strength is in composure. Real power doesn't have to react. It sits back, stays calm, and lets the silence work. But you can't stop there. Once you've gained your composure, you have to shift your focus. You have to stop trying to change them. Stop trying to make them see your worth and start leveling up yourself. Too many people get stuck in this cycle of trying to fix someone else when the real work is fixing themselves. You can't force anyone to treat you better, but you can make yourself so strong, so successful, so unshakable that they have no choice but to respect you. So take all that energy you were wasting on them and invest it in your own growth. Work on your body, your mind, your money, your peace. Build yourself up until you don't need anyone else's validation. Because when you level up, you don't have to beg anybody to see your value. Your success will make them notice. And while you're leveling up, learn the art of silence. Silence speaks volumes. It says things that arguments and tears never could. When you stop explaining, stop defending, stop chasing, people feel it. They feel that empty space where your energy used to be, and it makes them uncomfortable. It makes them wonder. That's when they start questioning their choices. That's when they start realizing your value. Not when you scream, not when you cry, but when you go silent and let your actions do the talking. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. It forces people to face their own reflection because you've removed your energy from the equation. And that silence becomes louder than any word you could ever say. But the final move, the real winning play, is to let success be your response. When someone disrespects you, when they break your heart, don't waste your breath trying to prove them wrong with words. Prove them wrong with results. Glow up so bright they can't ignore you. Win so big they have no choice but to watch. Let your growth, your peace, your progress be the loudest answer, because success, real, undeniable success, is the best closure, and it's the best way to remind yourself that your worth was never dependent on anyone else's recognition. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest shift in your life will happen the moment you stop reacting emotionally and start responding with self-control. See, anybody can react. It takes no power to get angry, to scream, to cry, to block someone in a moment of pain. That's what most people do. But real strength is when you feel all those emotions rise up inside you, you pause, you breathe, you stay calm. Because when you react emotionally, you're giving the other person power over you. You're letting them pull your strings. But when you respond with self-control, you move like somebody who knows their worth. You stop dancing to their tune and you start leading the dance. That calm, that steady energy, that's where your real power is. And when you step into that power, you'll see that blocking or begging is not the answer. Blocking someone might make you feel strong in the heat of the moment, but deep down, it's often just a reaction to pain. You're hoping they'll notice, hoping they'll miss you. And begging? Begging is just another way of saying, I don't believe I'm enough unless you say so. Both of these choices hand your power over to someone else. So stay composed, hold your ground, don't let anyone see you desperate, because desperation is the fastest way to lose respect. Real power is in stillness. It's in being unbothered. It's in knowing that you don't have to block or beg. You just have to stand firm in your value. But it's not enough to just stay composed. You've got to take that energy and turn it inward. Stop focusing on changing them. Stop waiting for them to come around and finally treat you right to see your worth. That's a losing game. Instead, focus on leveling up yourself. Take all that energy you are spending on them and invest it in you. Work on your body. Sharpen your mind, secure your finances, protect your peace, build a life so strong, so full, so rich, that whether they come back or not doesn't even matter anymore. Because when you level up, you don't have to convince anyone of your worth. They will see it, and even more importantly, you will feel it. And while you're doing that, remember this: silence speaks louder than any argument or any tear. When you stop explaining, stop defending, stop chasing, people feel it. They feel the shift. That silence becomes loud in their ears because they're used to your energy being there, reacting, responding, feeding their ego. When you go silent, they're forced to face themselves. They're forced to sit with their choices. That's when they start wondering what happened. That's when they start feeling your absence. Silence is not weakness, it's power. It says, I no longer need your approval to validate me. But don't stop at silence. Take it further. Let success be your response to disrespect and heartbreak. Don't waste time trying to prove them wrong with words. Prove them wrong with results. Glow up so big they can't ignore you. Win so loudly they have no choice but to watch. Let your progress, your peace, your growth be the answer to everything they doubted about you. Because success is the ultimate revenge is the best closure. It's the loudest statement you can ever make. And when you choose self-respect over desperation, everything shifts. People feel it. Doors open. Opportunities come. And suddenly, you're no longer chasing, you're attracting. That's real power.